Balden Choje Lama Rinpoche, Dagi Jiwa, Bede Denshuna, Katin Chibu, Kone Jison, Kosong to Gi Moto Zandu, So Chazawata, Jujin Shabata, Jisu Yara, Kushin So, Kyawa Chunsen Dagi Jisaba, Tamje Zobe Chanjo Chembo, Sa Shi, Buju Jushi Medot. Redabling Shini de Gimbade, Sanki Shinto Mik de Pawai, Toko Namda Shinla Cheba, Sho, Semchenaki Saba, Loye Cheta Chitawa, Chijon to Montebai, Chogi Golo Porto, So, Tashitele, everyone. And today we will be discussing on the death. So how should we confront death? And as soon as we are born in this world, so whether we are born as a human, or whether we are born as an animal, or whether we are born like we believe in like different realms, like God realms, or maybe demigod realms, or hell. And everywhere, as soon as we are born, we are going to die. So that is like for sure. So the only thing that is not sure is how long we are going to live. And some of us like might live for like maybe 10, 20 years, some maybe like 50, 60 years, some maybe up to like 100 years. Some maybe even like little more for like human beings. And for other animals, and depending on different animals, some animals maybe like small insects, maybe will only live for like few days. And there are some animals who can live for like more than 100 years, maybe few hundred years. And then we believe that in the God realm, they live for very long duration, so it is very different. But as soon as we are born, but we have to die. And we need to prepare for that, because no matter what we do, what we eat, what we drink, how healthy we try to be, we have to die, and that is for certain. So anything that is built up, it has to come down. And anyone who is born has to die, and that is very certain. And like I said before, there are so many reasons to be alive, and we take this living as like very easy and like very permanent. We never think of dying, and maybe some of us might think of dying, but it is very, very rare. We don't think about dying, but it is going to happen sooner or later. So someone like extreme super being like the Buddha himself, Shakyamuni Buddha, when he was born here in Lumbini, Nepal. So even someone like him, he also had to pass away. And we talk about the great kings, like maybe the Ashoka Emperor, or maybe the Alexander the Great. So no matter how powerful you are, they still have to die. And we can never be far from death. And even to live, we have so many reasons. And these reasons can also be like cause of death, because sometimes, not sometimes, we have to eat to live in this world. And sometimes even the things that we eat, sometimes we might choke on them. Sometimes they might bring us like different kinds of difficulties in our health. And these things that we might eat, they also bring death to us sometimes. And it's not only the eating, sometimes like drinking. We think all these drinks, like healthy drinks, maybe they are going to help us, but we never know. Sometimes they might also be the cause of death. And even like exercising, we think when we exercise, it's going to be of great help. And people live longer when we are healthy. But we do see sometimes people, when they are exercising, they have like cardiac arrest. And even exercise can might also be a cause of death. So anything that we think is the cause of like a long life, they might also be the cause of our death. And obviously, the bad things that we do, like eating bad food, not exercising, maybe like staying or living life very dangerously, they can definitely be the cause of death. And we say that life is like a bubble. So it is very easy to burst the bubble. And just like that, even our life, we might think that our life is very permanent. It's good. We are going to stay very long, but we are never sure when we are going to die. And dying actually is very easy. You breathe in, and then when you are not able to breathe out, then all of a sudden you are dead. And we too think that death might not happen to me today or this year. We make plans for next year, even for like 5 years, 10 years, but it is very certain, and we are not certain. We cannot completely, truthfully say that I will see the sunrise tomorrow. So it is going to happen, and for that we do need to prepare. And there are different ways we can prepare for our death. And normally what we see is like in normal human beings. So those of you like who have dealt with a dead body or a corpse, especially most of the monks, because we need to help when people are dead. So we need to help with the burial and everything. We do see like quite a lot of different dead bodies, and maybe people who are working in the hospitals or maybe crematoriums, and they are able to see so many dead bodies. And what happens is when we are about to die or when we are dying, most of us get extremely terrified. And if you notice, like when you are very afraid, what you do is you try to freeze yourself. The body tries to like be very tight because you are very afraid. So like some of you, when you are afraid of the dark, then you kind of like freeze when the darkness comes all of a sudden. Or sometimes when you are afraid of a reptile, and when you see a reptile like a snake or maybe like cockroaches, as soon as you see them, you get very afraid, and then you froze, and then you cannot move your limbs properly, and it becomes very, very stiff. And just like that, for most of the beings, normal beings, they are very afraid of dying, and when they are about to die, they are extremely terrified. And in that moment, they get terrified, and then they freeze, and then they die. And when we deal with these kinds of body, it is very difficult to move their limbs because the position that they die. So it is very difficult for us to like move their hands or legs like that. But those people who are practicing their whole life, or those people who are content with their life, and when they die, and when we like take them to the crematorium or burial ground, it is very easy because when they are dying, they are not afraid of death, and they are ready to accept that they are dying, and it is very easy to move their limbs because they are not afraid. So even from that, we can see that what death brings us in the moment of death. And even for like our life, which we take for very permanent. So we think that actually our life, not only think, we believe, and it is like every moment we are getting closer to the death. And the sooner we realize, the better it is for us. Because most of us, we think that I will live for like 20 years more, maybe 40 years more, 50 years more. And we never think that death is going to happen to us. But actually, it is not like that. We are going to face the death, and just like in the old time when we start on the computer. So it is not like these days, as soon as you put on the on button, it opens up. But the old time when you turn on the computer, then it needs time to open. So you will see like a small long line. So you will see like, oh, 0% loading, 10% loading, maybe 50% loading, 70% loading, 100% loading, and then the computer will start. And as we see that line, we know that, oh, the computer is about to open. So just like that, even our life, so example, if we are supposed to live till like 100, so when now for most of us who are like maybe in the 30s, 40s, so we are almost like in the halfway, and we have to know that, oh, now there's only like maybe half or maybe a little more than half of our life if we live till 100. And those who are more, so it is much closer, but we never feel that we are getting closer to our death. Yesterday and today we feel the same. We still feel that the distance to our death is the same distance. Last year and now we feel it's the same distance. 10 years before and now we still feel the same distance. But actually it is not like that. We are getting closer and closer to it. And for that, what we need to do is we need to like practice whatever we are taught by our teachers. And normally people think that practice like it's only like maybe reading religious scriptures, religious text, going to empowerments. But actually it is not only that. In a very simple term, the main thing that to practice is we need to make our body positive, we need to make our speech positive, and then we need to make our mind positive. And making the mind positive is the most important thing. Like for example, from our body, what we can do is like talking about negative thing is like killing and stealing like that. And instead of that, what we can do is we can release life. We can make offering to the very poor, where the help is needed. We can help them. And even from our mind, sometimes we have so many different negative thoughts, negative emotions. We can try to remove them, and we try to good actions from our body, speech, and mind. And when we read the scriptures, we are able to understand what are good actions, what are bad actions. And when we think about them properly, it is not like just because the Buddha said, then it is going to be good. It is not like that when you think properly. So like if not stealing, that is definitely a very good thing. If not telling a lie, that is a very good thing. It is not only according to the religious scriptures, but also in a general world, we think that and we believe that when we don't steal, when we don't lie, when we don't have sexual misconduct, and when we don't like have hatred to other beings, then these are all like very good things. And when we follow these practices, then it is definitely going to help us when we are about to die. And then what we believe is that after dying, we are not going to take rebirth as soon as we die. That is like very rare cases. And because in this life and in our next life, between these two lives, we have like a small gap between these two. It is what we call Bardo in Tibetan language. And this is just like when we flip among the channels. When we flip from one channel to another channel, usually there's like a split second of blank between these two channels. Just like that, even in our life, this life and next life, we will have like that small gap. And if we are able to practice now very well, and doing that Bardo also, we can have lots of benefit. And even when we are in Bardo, when we don't practice, then it is impossible for us to know that we are in the Bardo. But if we are practicing well, then after death, when we are in the Bardo, we are able to know that, oh, I am in the Bardo. I am already dead, and now I am in the Bardo. And sometimes people think that it is very easy to understand that, to know that I am dead and that I am in the Bardo. But if we think properly, like even now, like here in Nepal, it's quite late. Not very late, but it's a little late. So maybe within an hour or maybe within 2 hours, maybe I'll go to sleep. And most of us, when we are sleeping, we do dream. And in dreams, we dream so many different kinds of dreams. Sometimes we dream impossible dreams, but we never realize that it is dream. So I might dream that I'm here in Namabuddha now, and within a second I might be in Kathmandu, and within few seconds maybe I'll be in Hong Kong. And there is so drastic changes, but we never realize in our dream that we are dreaming. And just like that, even in Bardo, if we haven't practiced, we will never realize that I am dead, and we will just be floating around in the Bardo. But if we practice well, then we are able to understand even during the Bardo. Sometimes we are not able to practice so much during our lifetime, but during the Bardo, if we have the good opportunity, then we can realize, and then we can practice again, not only in our lifetime, but also during the Bardo space. And all these are going to help when we are dying or when we are after death. And to learn more about that, I think we don't have so much time for now, but what we need to understand is we need to be prepared, because most of us, we don't fear the death, but we do need to fear the death, because it is going to happen sooner or later. And it is just like an exam, because when we know that there is going to be an exam, then we do prepare for the exam. But when we don't fear the exam, then we definitely will never prepare for exam. And when we fear, when we study more, and when we practice more, we will have very good grades in the exam. And just like that, when we fear the death, there is more possibility of us practicing more, doing good deeds, and believing in good motivation, helping other beings. And just like me, everybody also needs happiness. So I will try to create happiness for not only for myself, but for all sentient beings. And if we are able to do that, then when we are dying, it is going to be of tremendous help for us when we are dying. And I think we can stop here for the talk. And then if you have like question, then we can do the questions.
Questions. So, can Choje Lama tell in few words or a sentence about how to confront death through the Vajrayana practice?
So, according to Vajrayana Buddhism, and not only Vajrayana Buddhism, I think most of the Buddhism, the easiest way to practice or the best way is the Tonglen practice when we are about to die. So what we do is we breathe in all the negativity, and then we breathe out all the positivity that we have, because we are trying to give happiness, joy to everyone, and then we take in all the suffering. And this one practice is quite easy, I guess, and not that difficult. So even if we are lying in the bed when we are dying, or even if we have an accident, and no matter, I think, what kind of death that we are going to have, most of the time, I guess we are able to do that practice, and it is not that hard. So it is having a pure motivation, and then breathing, because we are breathing, and when we breathe in, we breathe the negativity. When we breathe out all the positivity. So that is like one part. And then the other one is because we practice in deities or hidams, and whichever hidam we are practicing, we try to visualize on that, and we try to practice that when we are dying. and we make prayers to that Hidam. And then even after the death, when we are in the Bardo, we are able to see, just like in our dream, we see so many different visuals. So even after death, during our Bardo, we do have so many different visuals. And these Hidams that we have been practicing will remind us, because when we are practicing, so it is an image that we create when we are practicing. And just like that, even during the Bardo time, it is an image that we create. And because of the link between these two, it reminds us that we are in the Bardo and everything is just an illusion. And it helps to recognize that we are in the Bardo. And we say that there is more understanding of everything in the Bardo. And even during this time of Bardo, we are able to practice these Hidams, and they will make us remember that everything is an illusion and that we have to believe that it is illusion and everything is empty. This will help us again in our practice. So for that, what we need to do is we need to practice on our Hidam. The more we practice during our lifetime, the easier it is for us to recognize during our Bardo time. So I think these two are like the easiest way to describe according to my understanding. Dembe Pagyu Gamal Ludusham, Shebe Sambo, Yandenka Captain, Beijing Shabe, Taten Shito, Chinle Chole Namkian Palba, Shu Sonam the Tamji Siba, Tomne Tanam Pamjin, Gaga Nachi, Palab Tuba, Sibe Sole to Shu.